Good afternoon, Patho.
Hi, good afternoon.
Welcome back to our Schools of Tomorrow podcast.
Thank you. Bruno.
So, when we say Schools of Tomorrow, we are obviously looking at crafting a future and understanding the future as it's expected to shape up. And it should inform the decisions that educators take today
Yeah.
because they're preparing students for that tomorrow, right? So, one of the biggest factors that is affecting the future or likely to affect the future is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So, as educators, I believe we must understand to whatever extent we can and try to see what does the future hold for our students and for our schools, and then look at today and see what is it that we should do today practically to prepare our students for that future and to prepare our teachers and our schools for that future. So, in this context, may I seek your perspective on the matter at hand?
Yeah. This is going to be one of the most important things in the days to come.
Of course, yes.
And artificial intelligence is growing exponentially. So we have to consider two things really, from the perspective of AI and schooling. Two things. One is because of AI, the content of learning is going to change considerably. I'm saying it's going to change, but it's already happening. It's already a lot of change in content, and I know learners, students who use not just AI, but have been using the internet extensively for their studies and their research. And now, of course, they're doing it increasingly so with AI. And I personally know how the content itself is changing because of that. These learners, these students that I'm talking about, are not anymore limited to their syllabi or textbooks. Because of the moment you go for the internet, for instance, you want to do research on the net. And I'm talking about intelligent research, not just copy paste.
Of course.
Intelligent research. And there's so much more that the net can provide the learner.
Yeah.
There's so much more that you can access that going back to a typical textbook becomes A, irrelevant, and B, not very interesting.
Right.
Now, textbooks compared to what you're getting on the net is quite boring. Most textbooks.
Having said that, there would be a prescribed syllabi and a curriculum within which the school will assess the learning
School
outcomes.
is already doing that, yes, but if you're going to extend your research and use the internet as a resource, you have so much more to draw from.
That's true.
So, though your preparation, your study would probably extend far beyond what the particular syllabus asks for, and it's not going to affect the syllabus by doing that. It's going to extend far beyond the syllabus without affecting what the syllabus is asking for,
Right.
because your knowledge range is that much more. So you can obviously attempt any question that is set to you within the syllabus. But with AI, this is going to become far more interesting and far more sophisticated.
Yes.
And the range is going to extend that much more. Because now you personally don't have to be doing all that research. Now AI is doing it for you
Yes.
and is putting it together, putting all the information together in ways far more complex, interesting, and sophisticated than you yourself can ever do.
True.
Because you're using artificial intelligence that is that much more advanced than your own brain. So again, the impact on content is going to be very profound, very extensive.
When you say content, you mean knowledge available to the student,
Yeah,
not beyond the textbook, given that it is now AI enabled and AI is doing that research for you. You're spending less time gathering what you need, filtering what you need. It's already gathered for you, it's already
it's
filtered for
already
you,
put together for you,
put together
which
for
is
you.
what a textbook does.
Yes.
But here it's that much more effective.
And the line of query, any line of query can be pursued very
Yes,
quickly.
yes. And then AI is doing another thing which neither the net nor any textbook does. It's AI is not just giving you information; it's making you question that information too. I've tried it myself, and
Right.
I use the AI a lot in my research in physics. So if I want to learn about a particular topic,
Right.
and I ask AI to interact with me and bring me this topic, then I have to ask lead questions and I get the information. And it's giving me the information. Then it's also telling me that this is not widely accepted by mainstream science because of this reason. Would you like to explore that further?
Yeah, it does that.
And then I say yes, I would. So then it starts questioning the information that's given to me, and that becomes very interesting, very exciting for the learner in me. And I can imagine keen students of any subject would enjoy that process because the AI is challenging the learner's mind and curiosity
Precisely. Yeah.
in ways that a human teacher hardly ever does, and that the teacher happens
It's
to be
almost it
exceptionally
can
good.
keep you infinitely curious.
Yes,
Isn't it?
yes. And then it's bringing so much more, and then it tells me that this is what you asked for, and this is the information. Would you like to explore a bit more along this line because this will make this a bit more understandable? So yeah, why not? Let's try it. And then it takes me along a tangent and brings me back to this, and say, wow, now my understanding of this is that much better because of this tangential exploration that later on turns out to be not so tangential after all.
I get it. I mean, I'm also a
So
very avid user,
yeah,
so I can.
you're
This
also doing
resonates
that.
with me.
Several people are doing that I know, and they've spoken to me about it. And a lot of people are doing that with Indian spirituality, with Vedanta, and then
Which I do very rigorously
yes,
as well.
and then they come to me and say that this is what ChatGPT is telling us. Is this correct? So, so I can see a lot of very stimulating things happening, which wasn't happening before and couldn't have happened before. You needed this tool to make it happen. So that's how content is going to get impacted.
If I may add an insight, and perhaps it's correct, perhaps not so. So, if I'm a student and I have a textbook and I have a teacher in my school, then the capacity to understand the given topic is constrained by what is given in the textbook to me as an initial text or a content, piece of content. B, my curiosity or my questions, the answers to which are limited by the limited potential of the teacher, the human being who is teaching me. So that human being obviously will have a finite potential to answer my queries. Will have a
Yes.
limited ability, limited by their own ability of their understanding of the
Limited
subject.
information range.
Limited information range.
And also limited range of analysis, questioning the content. I think that most teachers don't do.
Most teachers, the average teacher perhaps won't
don't
do,
do it.
perhaps they don't have the time to do, even if they have the potential. So let us say that there are certain limitations
For whatever reason, they don't do
for a
it.
teacher, practical, realistic limitations. Now, what AI does is that it removes those restrictions. And
Yes,
now the
yes.
student is able to have the range of information available at hand in a fraction of a second to him or her is only limited by the understanding of the entire humanity
Yeah.
as available on the internet.
And-
So
and
suddenly
what's-
the scale has expanded
Yes. Expanded,
100x or a million x.
expanded, become more interesting and challenging. that too's there,
Yes.
because here it's not just the information which the textbook or the average teacher can give. It's just the information that's there. But here you can take that information, literally play with it.
Exactly. And the system will adapt to you. You know what we call
Yes,
as adaptive
yes,
learning.
yes,
The AI is now adapting to your queries.
yes,
It's giving me a customizable
yes,
response.
yes.
It is only limited by the number of questions that I can ask
Right.
and the amount of information I can
Yeah.
grasp.
And keep in mind that it can also lead you on,
Of course, as you said, yes.
because AI is a dynamic medium. It's a dynamic tool.
It is, yes.
It's not static like your textbooks, or unfortunately most teachers. So it can lead you. It
Yeah.
can,
It entices you, literally.
yes, it can challenge you. It can lead you. And it has
Yeah.
done that to me.
It's almost like a teacher with infinite,
Yes,
potential to offer
yes. I
you
mean,
answers.
ChatGPT has asked me about some question are you actually saying this? Because if you are, then this would be an incorrect or an incomplete assumption. And would you like to go into that? It's challenging me based on my question. I say, yeah, I'd like to see where this leads to. And whoa, a complete new line of thinking opens up for me.
Yes.
So I can well imagine what it's going to do to students who are seriously interested in this subject.
So, what we're solving for here, so that we can understand the role of AI in the context of what the goal is. So, the goal for us, the goal we're setting up for the student is for him or her to have the learning outcome as prescribed at his age level, pertaining to the curriculum that he has undertaken.
So again, Mano, this is something I have myself thought about a great deal. This whole idea of going by your age and what someone else sitting there who's formulating your curriculum decides what you're ready to learn and what you're not is quite outdated.
Yeah, that's the mainstream
Yeah, and long
versus.
years ago it already
Yeah,
was. For me, at least, it was
of course,
outdated. But now
I
with
know.
AI, it's completely outdated because now the only thing that limits the learner is not his or her age or social background or even academic background, but how far he or she is willing to engage with AI. If she's really willing to go all the way, really engage with AI, then the scope of learning is almost unlimitless. It's almost
Infinite, yeah.
limitless. Where does one stop then?
Right.
And the other thing about AI is, and this I saw this happening in some of my what should we call more engaged and more intelligent students. That the more they're challenged, the more they're drawn in, the more they push. Almost, they're pushing the boundary, as it were.
Yes.
That I can understand, I can grasp this, but let me see if I can push a bit more and see where that leads to. So, an entirely dynamic, creative, challenging, stimulating pedagogy develops on its own between the learner and AI in this case.
So, as a mainstream school, then, if we narrow down the scope of this part of our discussion, a regular school implementing CBSE curriculum, let us say, let us pick a grade 6 as a sample. Now, what should be the official stance of a school which wants to incorporate AI officially into its learning system? Should we
So,
tell the student, is a grade 6 student the right age to be spoken to about AI? We don't know. Should we encourage the child or under parental supervision to explore the topics of learning on AI? I don't know. Does it mean there's an age limit? What are your thoughts on these matters?
I speak more as an educator
Please, yeah.
and out of my experience. There was a time we used to think similar things about children with devices, electronic devices. That what's the right age for the child to engage with a computer. But very soon, perhaps even before we realized it, it went out of our hands. Because not only were the children engaging with devices, but engaging far more intelligently, smartly than we could imagine that they would. We didn't even give them credit for that kind of intelligent engagement with devices. And very soon the tables turned. It was like instead of the parents deciding whether it's okay for the child, parents would come to the child and say, you know what, I'm stuck with this, can you help me? And the child would help them. And today's day and age, children are far smarter with devices than their parents.
True that.
What they teach. So exactly the same thing is happening with AI, already happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I can see that. I am seeing that happening. Once the child can access the computer, and nowadays computer is in your cell phones. So once a child can access the net, let's say, through whichever device, how do you stop him or her from engaging at whatever level he or she chooses to with AI? In the negative direction or the positive direction? I mean, this will have negative spin offs, which just about everything will have, everything has. But on the positive side of things, if a 12-year-old wants to engage pretty deeply beyond his or her age with biology, for instance, or physics, who's going to stop the child, and why should anyone stop the child? Because information is already democratized.
Yes.
Information is universalized, and when I say universalized, I'm also talking about universalized across age, across the age spectrum. So today, I can think of 15-year-old learning about physics as simply and smartly as an 80-year-old. A few years ago, you wouldn't think that possible for either the 15-year-old or the 80-year-old. But today, both of them can do that, depending on and limited by only their interests. Interest, and of course, there's a certain level of readiness to take in the information and process it. Though a lot of the information processing is already being done by AI. But still, you need a certain level of intellectual competence to be able to engage with AI.
Of course.
After a certain level, of course.
Yes.
But given that, I don't see there's any way to stop them from going
Which
as
means
far
that
as they want
schools will have to soon enough, or at least the progressive schools will soon enough have to come up with the AI policy. They'll have to create some set of rules.
They will have to, unless, there are schools which are, I am beginning to interact with a few groups of teachers, and I've also done that with a couple of schools.
Yes.
The future of schools and AI. So there is this ostrich attitude today in several such schools and among several teachers and parents. It's not happening. But if we take that out of consideration and get realistic about it, that this is happening and there's no way you can put the clock back, then not only will schools have to see, the first phase will be schools will be formulating policies. Schools will be formulating policies for AI policies and stuff like that.
Because you can neither discourage them nor you
cannot
have to
discourage
understand
them.
how to encourage them.
Yes.
This understanding itself is not there in the system yet.
Yeah.
But the fast moving school, the school of tomorrow, will assimilate this, come up with the first draft and implement it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to let the students just do whatever they wish to do.
Yeah. So there will be schools that will understand what's coming and will, as you say, formulate policies and make themselves ready for AI. And then I think there will be schools which will ride the surf and will engage completely with AI, not as a matter of policy, but that's the way things are. It's like real life. And will rapidly start replacing most of the learning tools and pedagogical tools with AI, which would, I think, be the wiser and the smarter thing to do. For instance, there was a time again when schools needed to formulate a internet policy, if you remember. Today, what do you think of that? I mean, formulating an internet policy, I mean, not only is it not possible anymore, it's just not
It's almost
relevant. It's
redundant.
completely redundant. The children will do what they have to do because they have access to computers. The moment you have an access to computer, these questions become redundant. So maybe schools still have the luxury of formulating policies, but in a couple of years only, I don't see them even needing to formulate any policies. It'll be redundant again. It'll be irrelevant whether they formulate or not because children have access to. We must always remember that children have access to computers today. Everywhere is universalized. And the moment you have access to a computer, you have access to AI. Now, the moment you have access to AI, then where's the limit?
What age do you think?
Except limit is in your own mind.
Yeah. What is the age that comes to your mind when a student should have access to a device and internet and AI?
So again, the question today, Manu, if we really think about it realistically, the question today is somewhat irrelevant because no matter what we talk about, what age is appropriate for what you're asking, technology of this kind, the children, even as we are speaking, they're already accessing it.
But then as a parent, we do have a choice. When are we going to buy the first mobile phone or the first
As a
laptop
parent,
for our
most
child?
parents, especially parents who come to, let's say, a school like yours, for them, their children having a mobile device is a given. How many parents do you know who have not given mobile devices to their children?
Some of them do say that
At one time
in
it
grade
was
8 or
more of a
grade
fashion
9 or
statement.
grade 10, we will give you your
So
own
that
mobile.
it no longer works as I have seen it. It no longer works. It's, as I was saying, at one time it was a fashion statement. Now it's not even a fashion statement. You need it. Parents are so busy. Life has become so complex. Children are so busy with so many things that to think in terms of whether my child should carry a mobile phone or not has become completely irrelevant. They are carrying, and that's it.
Fine. So let us assume that they will have their mobile phones.
Yes.
Now, it means that we
It means
need
that
to-
they have access to AI.
let's assume that the student has access to AI.
Yeah.
So that is not a
even
bone
when
of
you speak about
contention
it,
here.
both of us are aware of the fact that if I open an app like WhatsApp, for instance, you have AI sitting there.
Yes.
So it's that easy. The moment you have a
You open
device,
Google,
you have AI.
you open
Everywhere there's an AI now.
WhatsApp, you
Yes.
open your browser.
Yes.
It's
This is
becoming
what I mean.
pervasive.
What are we talking about? It's already there.
So let me then, continue on the journey of trying to understand and come up with some sort of a framework as an educator, as a school. So, you're saying that the biggest impact on AI would be on the content,
On the content of learning this, on the subject matter.
subject matter. The key insight there was that there is unlimited access.
Yes.
An access which is not limited by the textbook or by the
Yes.
capacities of a
Yes.
teacher
Or by age or by class.
or by age or by class. Unlimited capacity, not limited by human or by the textbook. And B,
Limited only by your interest and your intellectual competence.
perfect. And secondly, not only do you have access that is not limited, you have access that has a two-way dialogue with you.
Yes.
It asks you back. It encourages you to ask more questions. So it piques your curiosity even further.
So that was the second point I was coming to: content and then pedagogy.
Okay. Yeah, let's speak
That's
about
what you.
that.
So exactly what you said just now. So now you have, instead of a one-way passive process where the student is simply receiving from a know-all source, you now have a dialogue. And mind you, what we have today is simply nothing compared to what we're going to have 1 year down the line. Because here again, we are speaking of exponential development, exponential innovations, exponential progress in the field. So what AI can do today is child stuff compared to what it will be doing 2 to 3 years from now and 5 years from now. Because it's getting sophisticated
Yes.
almost by the week, by the month. And now with DeepSeek, it's become that much more accessible.
The costs have gone down
It's
substantially.
universalized. Do you see the rapid universalization and democratization of this technology?
I mean, this is so much faster than
Yes.
what internet did to our world,
Absolutely. So tomorrow,
or
if
what mobile phones did to our world.
so, now think of this as a scenario. If tomorrow, a group of educators like us sit with a few of AI engineers, and together we work on the next model, where the level of pedagogical engagement is simply raised from A to A5 or A10. Who's to stop? So we can actually innovate absolutely radically new ways of engaging with the learner, the pedagogical engagement.
Could you just talk about it a bit more? For example,
So right now, like I just mentioned,
what is A and what is this 5A?
so at A, let's say present day, the chat GPTs can trigger off processes in your mind as you're engaging with it on any
asking
subject. It's
questions
done
back
with
to
me. So I'm asking about, let's say, a particular aspect of quantum physics, and there are 2 or 3 other aspects related to it of which I'm not aware, because I'm not spending all my life studying physics.
Like AI has done for
Yeah, I mean, it has everything with
it has everything. Yeah.
So I'm following up one line of thinking, let's say, that I want to understand non-locality, just to give an example. And AI tells me non-locality is fine, but non-locality is being questioned on these lines, along these lines. And there are these people who are actually questioning it. And so would you need to re-examine your own assumptions as you go into this line of
Does
investigation?
it ask you that level of a
Almost.
counter
I mean,
question?
you
Almost.
know.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what is triggering that. Would you like to examine this?
So now it's kind of asking you to think laterally and
Yes.
form
So now what I
connections.
did, I mean, a more real life example, that I said that, I mean, this is what I'm understanding. Let's say that this is what it means. So it says this is what it might mean if you take these into consideration, these assumptions into consideration, but this is what it'll mean if you change your set of assumptions. And this is what this particular physicist has said. This is what that particular physicist has questioned. Because you're asking for it, like, and before you know it, you have an evolving worldview, even as you engage with AI on a particular subject matter, on just one topic in that subject. So that is what is already happening today.
And therefore, the pedagogy that we have right now, that a school has a philosophy, school has a lesson plan framework, and within that framework, the teacher-learner process happens.
Yes. Now, what is already happening, we just talked about with AI, is not happening in any school with any teacher.
Right? It's not happening. Fine.
Right? It's not. It's already not happening. Which is, this is as we speak. Now, imagine this 5 times more sophisticated 2 years down the line.
No, but Partho, before we go to the 5x of this, I'm saying, what should be the impact on the existing pedagogy of a school, its philosophy and its framework, when it incorporates this AI into it?
If you're asking from the school's perspective,
Yeah.
I would say the school. This is a recent workshop that I did in Gurgaon on this matter.
Yes.
And I, after 2 days of very intense discussion, almost everyone there felt one single thing. It was almost a unanimous understanding that schools are now becoming redundant. And there was no other way I could have said it.
Right.
I mean, I know most of the teachers and the school administration couldn't take it. It was very difficult to take it. But after 2 days of intense conversation, they saw that, I mean, they read the writing on the wall. The schools are going to become redundant. The schooling system in India, that's coming down to us from the British times, an extremely unimaginative way of teaching and learning, which we have somehow unquestionably adapted for our uses. And the country has been using this education system more or less universally. For years, since independence, we haven't made any change. We haven't made any radical or real change in our pedagogy or curriculum. Whatever the Britishers got for us, we're continuing with it. And for so many years, I've been saying that this system is like, if it doesn't collapse under the weight of its own contradictions, we need to make it collapse. Because
Yeah, but there are
so let me
Yeah,
complete. So,
please.
so now I don't need to say that anymore, because now, because of AI, I can see it's already going to happen. It will collapse. There's no way it can stay. How many? If you take AI, just 5 times more intelligent than what it is right now, 5 times more sophisticated, more challenging, more dynamic than what it is right now. How many students will come to school to study academically?
There's this small point here, Partho. The private school universe out there are a certain number of progressive schools within them which do not necessarily confine themselves to the
So
utilitarian
when you're
slash
saying
British way of
progressive, what do you
teaching.
mean?
What I mean is that rote learning, chalk and talk method, restrictive learning, prescriptive learning. There are schools who have assumptions opposite to these
I agree,
things.
but those are absolute archaic things we're talking about.
So if you
So
say
a progressive school is still, let me
Yeah,
ask you,
yeah.
it's still teaching out of textbooks, yes or no?
agreed,
It's still teaching out of a prescribed syllabus.
yes.
Yes. I'm talking about these things. These things are outdated. Which student, just think about it, age of AI, galloping AI, in another few years, which student will choose to learn out of a prescribed syllabus or a textbook? Textbooks are already gone. Nobody's interested in textbooks except the schools and I don't know who else outside. Children are not. I interact with a lot of children, and the textbook is what they find to be the most boring thing in their schools. And I ask them, I ask many children, give me from 1 to 5 in that order, things you find most boring about your schooling. And the first thing they always say is books, the textbooks. They're so incredibly boring. So my question is, how many students will choose? I'm not talking about being forced to learn out of them. Choose to learn out of them.
Absolutely. So this is one aspect. We can go down that road a bit further, but rolling back the conversation to where we started, what I would love for you to give some advice to to the schools and the systems which are operating within the current prescribed curricula. I would love to have your opinion as to how a lesson plan which is aligned to a certain curriculum in a textbook today incorporate AI into itself.
This is more or less the question they asked me in the last workshop, and I had a tough time answering that question because, if you let me speak my mind, then it's not so difficult, and I can very easily answer the question.
Yeah, but perhaps something which we can do in the existing system as opposed to questioning the
So,
system.
Manu, the thing is, see, again, I call them the monolithic schools, the schools of the dinosaur age, and the schools that are going to come in the nimble-footed rabbit schools, let's say, the nimble-footed, fast-moving, cunning, intelligent mammalian schools, as opposed to these monolithic dinosaur structures. These are the two kinds of schools we're going to have.
Okay.
Whether
That's
one likes it or
interesting,
not.
representation.
So one kind of school is going to stick to the old system till something happens, some collapse
till
happens,
they
some
perhaps
inevitable
will wither away
collapse.
one day.
Some inevitable collapse will happen.
Yeah.
Economic or whatever, I don't know. But there'll be the other kind, and there'll be very few schools like that, because I can already, as I'm interacting and reading online, I can already see that the number will not be too large. There'll be a handful of schools.
The monolithic ones.
No,
The
nimble-footed
rabbit
ones,
schools, yeah.
who will realize what's happening, and they will ride the surf. They won't resist. They won't try to keep their own structures, because somewhere they are fluid enough. They are very small schools that probably would be owned by educators themselves, visionary educators I'm talking about, not dinosaur educators. And people who are intelligent enough to see that this is what's coming, And if I'm not nimble-footed enough to take this on and use this as a leverage, then sooner or later I'm gone. Maybe not in my generation, the next generation I'm gone, for sure. So then these will be the small schools who will be the schools of tomorrow. Schools who will not only understand AI, but will master AI enough to use it creatively, dynamically, and to
Right.
the fullest benefit of their students. These will be few, but these will be the schools of the future. The others
So
will,
these schools are also not the ones which are affiliated to any board. Then do you
they
would
cannot
imply?
be. The boards are again dinosaurs. Each board is like a dinosaur. I mean, the world over, the board, I mean, that is, except in India, I can't think of any other country which still is wedded to their boards. You know? So the boards themselves are completely, I mean, they are surviving only because of money
Yeah, because of
and
the
political influence.
standardization that they bring for
Political
university
influence,
selections.
politics and money. Politics and money. If tomorrow we have a government that seriously, really understands education, the boards will be gone.
And now, if I come back to my original point of the lesson plan in a mainstream school, is it possible then for me to, for the learning objective or the outcome that I have in mind, to use AI as a teacher
No,
to
then you're
create
using
questions?
AI as a tool, like one used to use internet. If you really want to engage with AI, you have to let AI design a learning plan. And it will be so different from the learning plan any teacher or school will work out.
Okay.
Simply because AI is using so much more
So
data.
you're saying that if a school has a prescribed format that, design a certain set of activities, make it inquiry based,
No, it won't work
ask
like
the
that.
skill based
So, Manu,
questions.
it will not work like that. What will happen is the student and the facilitator will sit with AI and design their own learning program. It will be a self-designed learning program as it should have been years ago. There is one of the reasons children don't learn in schools today, and both of us agree with that. They don't really learn. I mean, mugging up and taking exam and getting marks is not learning. Real learning does not happen, majorly does not happen in schools, is because the learning program is not designed by the student at all. The student has no say in his or her learning program. Whereas the entire learning program has to be the child's creation.
Yes.
If I, as a learner, cannot design my own, today I'm learning physics, for instance, and it's my program. I design my, I want to learn, and I know what I want to learn, how I want to learn, at what pace I want to learn. I don't need someone else to come and tell me, you should learn this. When you will say, I'm an adult, a grown-up adult. But hello, I think if we give that much credit to our children, if we really respect their intelligence, they're as capable as I to design their own learning programs. And why not? So if as a school, I really want to prepare my children for tomorrow's world, I will not be making learning programs for them or learning plans for them. I will be helping them in understanding how to make their own learning plans.
Which is the free progress perspective.
Yeah, I mean, at one time, free progress was a luxury. Now, fortunately, I can see it happening tomorrow. If free progress does not happen tomorrow, education collapses. Anyway, I mean, collapses, when I say collapse, what does it mean? Education will not collapse, but it will pass out of schools. Schools will have nothing to do with education in just what? 5, give me, in the last workshop I said this, 5 years. And I told them, record me right now, and play it back to me after 5 years. In 5 years' time, schools will become redundant. No serious learner will come to a school to learn. Yes, they will come to school for other reasons, which we can talk about.
Yeah, social, emotional learning.
Yeah, they'll come for other reasons, but they will not come here to learn. They will not go to any human teacher to learn physics or mathematics or language or literature. They may come to schools to learn how to do a play on stage. That AI cannot teach them. Yeah, of course, it can show them. It can. I mean, if you really extend it, maybe it can. But the way a human being will do it, imagine learning theatre from Amitabh Bachchan or Nasiruddin Shah. I mean, it's a different ball game. I don't think will ever be able to do that. But then what I'm saying is students, serious learners seriously and meaningfully engaged in their own learning processes will not come to schools to learn. They will learn at home or wherever they want to with AI. And then they'll come to school to, as you said, social interactions for playing, for learning
Essentially,
how
what
to
you're saying
do
is that
theatre.
that AI enables almost unlimited agency to a student to learn. I mean, that is.
Yes. The other
I
thing,
mean, I can be a self learner to the infinity because now I have AI
Yes.
to teach me.
so I tried this experiment with AI, with ChatGPT, and I asked a question which prompted ChatGPT to ask me, why do I want to learn this? What's my purpose of learning? So I said, I'm thinking of a PhD from this university. The moment I said that, it just gave me multiple options that if you're serious about a PhD, I mean, not in so many words, of course, if you're really going to get into PhD with this program, I suggest that you take this up, this, and study this, test this, understand it. And suddenly I had a curriculum there given by ChatGPT, which is today's, it's like
Cutting edge.
cutting edge in the sense
Sum
that,
total of all available
yes,
information
as of today,
as of today. And
as
it
of
can
today,
update it
the very
tomorrow if
hour
there's
that
any
I'm
more
interacting
information.
with you,
Real time.
real time, yes,
Real time
time
summary of human
Yes.
knowledge.
And what I should follow up to get a PhD, and it's also suggesting to me lines of thinking for my PhD. Wow. So, what I mean to say is the content and the pedagogy will be impacted. The purpose of learning will be impacted. And of course, the pace and way of learning will, everything to do with learning, everything real to do with learning will be impacted and will change and radically change. And finally, the mind will be ready for what I've always talked about this in all my workshops as an educator, that the mind will be ready for a deschooling. Finally, the mind will be ready for a deschooling.
And very briefly, deschooling means
A mind that is not schooled,
limited
that has
by a
not
certain
been taught,
framework.
conditioned, that has not been told what to learn and when to learn and why to learn. No, a schooled mind, conditioned mind, indoctrinated mind, mind that is being run by institutes. All that
But
put together is a schooled mind.
certain amount of framework is essential. Even our gurukuls had a bit of framework coming from the guru.
So the framework will be real life. Because now ChatGPT is telling you that if, and I know this is happening even as we speak, it's not 5x as of now. ChatGPT is still telling you that to be an effective finance planner on Wall Street, this is what you need to study and understand, and not what your curriculum is telling you. What your curriculum is saying is already outdated, and it is.
This I have used in my my professional space as well.
Yeah.
I've had ChatGPT give me answers and access to frameworks and knowledge which no possible textbook would give me.
Yes, and this access is only increasing. It only now it depends on governments really
Yeah.
to decide how much of access they want to give to ChatGPT, to data banks. Presuming that
I mean, so far the models have scraped everything that is available on internet.
yes, but
very hard to
now
kind
they
of
are talking
control
about
it.
copyright on, but they can't. Internet is internet.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that when it was internet. You can't do that when it's AI. So as this democratization of information goes on, and information is power, and this power is now getting democratized. You don't need to go to an Ivy League university to be able to access information. You can have it anywhere now. So not just schools. I personally believe schools and universities will become redundant in the years to come. Completely redundant.
Just to go back, so first was the impact on content, and the second one was
Pedagogy.
pedagogy. And how would we sum up now through this discussion that pedagogy as affected by AI would be? Like, what is the key
It's
takeaway?
already changed. It's already moving towards self-designed, self-executed learning programs,
Right.
where the learner is engaged with the facilitator in this case, which is Chat GPT or AI of any form. The learner engaged with AI is designing his or her own learning program and learning objectives and the future too. Like with this kind of learning, where would I want to go with it? And AI is helping the learner do that. In other words, it's helping the learner to map his or her learning to a future with that learning. So, and this is happening, and we all know it. Career choices are changing. Careers are changing. I mean, anyone who's following up with what is happening because of AI knows this for sure. That in another 5 years, the market will change so much. Jobs will. I mean, today, jobs in demand will become completely. What demand? There will be no jobs left.
Any jobs that
Not so many
the
jobs are,
AI can
yes,
impact will be
will be
impacted by
impacted.
AI.
Is already being impacted.
Yeah.
People are already
I
losing
mean, IT
jobs. I
firms
mean,
are
yes.
hiring less
Yes.
for coding
Yes,
jobs,
yeah.
entry level coding
So
jobs.
we have dealt with this in detail in the other podcast that Kunal and I do, like what is the impact on jobs and on industries, and this is happening across the spectrum. So a learner in a school today is completely insulated from all these real life happenings.
Yeah.
But the moment the learner starts engaging with AI, wherever that learner may be sitting, maybe sitting in Gurgaon or any place at all. I mean, you don't have to go to Harvard for this. You can sit anywhere on this planet and access the latest that's happening.
Yeah.
And by the time you're ready to get into the market for employment, you're already leagues ahead of everyone else who hasn't done this, who hasn't engaged with this kind of learning. So this is what's. In fact, I can't even say it's going to happen because I can see it happening.
Right.
It's already happening.
Well, Parthu, I think we've had a very interesting initial discussion on the impact of AI, and I think it is such an important force reshaping the world of learning
Yes. Yes.
that perhaps one session would not be enough. I think we've only merely touched upon it,
Yes.
but I guess this conversation will continue, say, in another part of this
Sure.
podcast.
That'd be well worth it.
Yes. So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.